You wake up every day at 5:42 a.m., 3 minutes before your alarm goes off. You wake up already tired, drive in traffic, and arrive at work where your boss showers you with orders. When it's time to go home, you have to work overtime. Otherwise, you can't go on vacation in August. You've been doing this for 20 years, and you'll have to do it for another 40. While your boss earns 10 times more than you by doing nothing, just giving you orders. Does that seem fair to you? Well, I'm about to tell you something that's going to hurt, because this is actually all fair. And do you know why? Because you keep telling yourself that your job gives you security, a consistent salary, maybe some benefits, and the feeling that you are doing what a responsible adult is supposed to do. But this is completely wrong, and it is what is ruining your finances and your future. Don't believe me? Let's look at some data. Of all the millionaires in the world, about 52% are entrepreneurs who started from scratch. Yes, exactly, like your annoying boss. 13% are investors, like Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger. 22% come from family inheritances, but very often those who inherit always lose everything because they're not financially educated. 11% are professionals with degrees like lawyers, doctors, or consultants. 2% are athletes or artists. And do you know how many millionaires are employees? 0%. Yes, 0%. This is the brutal truth. This is why your boss deserves more money than you. And to be extremely honest, this is what banks want for you. But here's the comforting part. You don't need to stay employed forever. You can break free this cycle. But only if you dare to listen to this video until the end. So leave a like and let's start. What I want to show you is that this is not an accident. It is not bad luck, and it is not a personal failure. What you are experiencing is a perfectly designed system, a structure that operates quietly in the background every single day, and that structure has one goal: to keep you depending on your salary, to keep you believing the salary is saving you, while in reality, the salary is the very thing preventing you from ever becoming truly wealthy. This is what I call the salary trap. And if you have ever wondered why your income keeps rising but your bank account never seems to grow, the answer is simpler than you think. Banks and financial institutions benefit when you are predictable, when you are stable, and especially when you are dependent. And the best way to keep you dependent is to make sure you never hold enough money at one time to feel free. Let me show you how the trap begins, using an example that looks almost identical to the life of millions of people. Imagine someone like Veronica. She is in her mid-30s, she has a stable job, and she earns what most people would consider a great income, something like $85,000 a year. On paper, she should be doing extremely well. She should feel comfortable. She should feel ahead. But the truth is that Veronica feels constantly stressed about money, constantly behind and constantly confused about why her income does not translate into financial freedom. And here is where the first weapon of the salary trap reveals itself. Veronica gets paid twice a month, which means every 2 weeks she receives a check that looks big enough to make her believe she is winning. Before taxes, the number looks impressive, but after taxes, the check shrinks, and then something very interesting happens. The system does not actually ask her what she wants to do with her money. It does not give her a clean slate and say, "Here is your full paycheck. Make conscious decisions." No, the system is far more subtle than that. It slices her money before she even touches it. Almost every bill or obligation she has is already tied to automatic payments, automatic deductions, automatic renewals. Rent, groceries, car payments, insurance, utilities, subscriptions, gas, phone bills. By the time the money reaches her bank account, nearly all of it is already claimed by someone else. This fragmentation is not just a financial mechanism, but a psychological one. When money comes in large and leaves in small pieces, the brain does not see the total picture. It sees transactions, not totals. It sees small bites, not the full cost of the lifestyle. So Veronica does not feel poor. She feels functional. She has an apartment. She drives a decent car. She buys food. She pays for the services everyone else pays for. She might even treat herself occasionally. But at the end of every 2-week cycle, she looks at her remaining balance and sees almost nothing. Maybe $50, maybe less, and she wonders what she is doing wrong. But she's not doing anything wrong. The system is working exactly as designed. The salary trap makes sure you never accumulate enough at one time to feel powerful, and that you experience your lifestyle as normal, not dangerous. You are trapped without feeling trapped. You are spending everything without realizing you are spending everything. Now let's go deeper into how banks benefit from this cycle. When people live paycheck to paycheck, even on high incomes, they need loans, they need credit cards, they need financing for cars, for homes, for emergencies, for everyday purchases. And every time they borrow, banks win. Every time they swipe, banks win. Every time they carry a balance, banks win. The salary trap ensures you stay in a constant loop where your income flows in and flows right back out. And somewhere along the way, banks insert themselves into every gap they can find. But the next phase of the trap is even more dangerous, and it affects almost everyone without exception. This phase is called lifestyle inflation, and it is one of the most profitable psychological tools banks rely on. The moment you increase your income, even slightly, you also increase your spending because you feel you earned it. You tell yourself that now you deserve a nicer apartment, a better neighbourhood, a newer car, a more comfortable life. And because banks present you with credit lines, loans, and payment plans that make everything look affordable, you step directly into the next cage, believing you are stepping upward. So Veronica earns more over time. She goes from 60,000 to 70,000 to 80,000. And each time she receives a raise, she upgrades something. A larger apartment, a more expensive car, a few more lifestyle comforts. And every upgrade feels like progress, but every upgrade also tightens the chains. Because now she is not just living her life, she is maintaining it. And maintaining it is expensive. This is the moment when dependency becomes almost irreversible. Because once someone has built a lifestyle that consumes nearly all of their income, they cannot leave their job. They cannot take time to think. They cannot take risks. They cannot slow down. They must work, not because they are building a dream, but because they are funding a lifestyle that no longer belongs to them. It belongs to the bills. Banks love this. Employers love this. Anyone who profits from your predictability loves this. Because a person who must keep earning is a person who cannot disrupt the system. I want you to think about something honestly. If you walked into your job tomorrow and your boss said something that made you want to quit, would you be able to? Could you walk away today and comfortably survive for 6 months, 3 months, even 1 month? Most people cannot, and that is the clearest sign that the salary trap is working. And when people cannot walk away, they do not negotiate, they do not object, they do not explore alternatives. They stay still, they comply, they live the same year, on repeat, believing this is normal, believing this is adulthood. But it is not normal, it is engineered. Now that you have seen how the salary trap quietly forms, around you we need to look at the even more subtle mechanisms that tighten the grip over time, because the trap does not just appear once, it strengthens gradually, and by the time most people recognize what is happening, the financial structure of their life is already shaped around obligations they cannot escape. That is why banks and institutions love salaried workers. Not because they want people to thrive, but because a predictable income is the most profitable resource they can possibly extract from. When your money always arrives on schedule and leaves on schedule, they know exactly how much you have, how much you owe, and how much you will continue paying. And the stability you think is protecting you is actually protecting them. The system becomes comfortable for everyone except you. Let's return for a moment to someone like Veronica, or maybe someone like you. At first the job seems great, the salary seems fair, the lifestyle feels manageable. But as months and years pass, something else begins to grow silently in the background. It is the belief that you are building security simply because you have a stable paycheck. And this belief is very convenient for banks. Because as long as you think your job is the foundation of your financial safety, you will never question the fact that your savings barely grow. You will never question why you have nothing left at the end of the month. You will never question why you cannot pause, why you cannot breathe, why one unexpected bill can destroy your sense of stability. Banks build financial products around this very expectation. They know the average person will run out of money before running out of month. They know the average person receives their paycheck and instantly sends it away to a dozen different places. They know that the average person will use credit cards not because they want to, but because their cash flow never gives them enough space to avoid it. And once you rely on credit, the trap becomes even deeper. Because now, part of your future salary is already promised away. You're not just working for today's expenses, you're working for last month's decisions, last week's purchases, last year's emergencies. And banks profit from every one of those moments because they turn your lack of financial cushioning into a constant revenue stream. But here is the darkest part of the salary trap. It convinces you that earning more will save you. It convinces you that the next raise will finally give you room to breathe, that the next promotion will finally give you the freedom you have been waiting for. And yet, when the raise arrives, it does not create freedom. It creates opportunity for larger expenses. The world around you is designed to scale with your income. Apartments get nicer, cars get better, vacations get more luxurious, and every advertisement you see subtly pushes you to level up every part of your life. The message is everywhere. If you earn more, you should live better. And because of that belief, your lifestyle grows as fast as your paycheck, sometimes faster, until eventually you realize that nothing has changed except the size of the numbers. This cycle is not a coincidence. It is engineered. The price of everything you interact with on a daily basis is designed to absorb your income, and banks purposely position their loans and services to make every upgrade look accessible. When you get a raise, the bank will happily increase your credit limit. When your income rises, lenders will gladly approve you for a bigger loan. When your salary is steady, mortgage lenders will happily stretch the limits of what they believe you can afford. It does not matter whether you should afford it. What matters is that you can be locked into it. Because when you are locked in, you must keep working. You must keep paying. You must remain predictable. Let me give you a scenario that happens to millions of people every single year. Someone gets a significant raise. Let's say they go from making $60,000 a year to $90,000. On paper, this is life-changing. In their mind, this is the moment everything gets easier. But instead of saving the difference or building a financial buffer, they upgrade their apartment. They upgrade their transportation. They begin spending more on dining, entertainment, travel, and comfort. Within 6 months, the lifestyle realigns itself so the expenses match the income. And now the person earning $90,000 is under the same pressure as the person who earns $60,000. The trap simply adjusted itself upward. Banks understand this psychology deeply. They know that human beings rarely downgrade their lifestyle once it rises. They know that once someone becomes used to convenience, comfort, and prestige, they will sacrifice nearly anything to maintain it, even their freedom. So the bank plays the long game. It does not need you to default. It only needs you to continue, month after month, year after year, payment after payment. Your salary becomes a conveyor belt moving money from your account into theirs, and they barely need to lift a finger to keep it going. But how do you break something that is so woven into your daily reality? How do you escape a trap that feels normal? First, you must understand that the trap is not built on income. It is built on dependence. The salary itself is not the enemy. The dependence on the salary is when you rely on it completely, when you cannot survive without it, when missing one paycheck would put you into panic, that is when you're trapped. And that is the condition banks count on. The moment you gain even a small level of independence, the trap begins to weaken. For example, imagine having 3 months of living expenses saved. Suddenly, you are not afraid of losing your job tomorrow. Imagine having 6 months saved. Suddenly, you can negotiate without fear. Imagine having a year saved. Suddenly, you can reject opportunities that do not serve you and pursue ones that do. And this is precisely what banks do not want. Because when you have choices, you become unpredictable. And unpredictable people do not spend the way banks want them to. Another powerful way to break the trap is by creating a gap between your income and your expenses, and protecting that gap like your life depends on it. Because in many ways it does. That gap is the foundation of wealth. It is the space where savings accumulate, where investments are funded, where new opportunities can be built. Without that gap, everything you do financially remains on the surface level, reactive and fragile. That is why the system constantly pushes you to use your full income on lifestyle. Because if the gap stays small, you stay controlled. Think of wealth not as money but as time. Wealth is the number of months you can live without working. Wealth is the ability to choose what you do tomorrow. Wealth is the power to say no. A person earning $30,000 a year with 12 months of savings has far more freedom than someone earning $300,000 a year with nothing saved. The salary does not make you powerful. The space between your salary and your obligations does. Now let's address something that many people misunderstand. Escaping the salary trap does not require quitting your job, selling all your things, or living a miserable life. It simply requires awareness and intentionality. Awareness of how money moves through your life, and intentionality about how much of it you allow to leave. When you begin directing your money instead of letting it direct you, the trap begins to break. When you begin questioning whether you actually need that upgrade, whether you need that subscription, whether you need that financing plan, you start regaining control. And finally, the most important step is building assets. Not flashy ones, not complicated ones. Simple, stable assets that grow over time and eventually earn money independently from your salary. When your salary is no longer your only source of income, the system cannot control you the same way. Once your money begins producing more money, the pressure of depending entirely on your job begins to fade. And that is the moment banks fear most. Because the fewer people trapped in the salary cycle, the fewer people paying interest forever. The fewer people living paycheck to paycheck, the fewer people banks can quietly profit from every day. You deserve more than a life built around bills and deadlines. You deserve a life built around choices. And the first step toward that life is understanding the truth about why your salary has not made you wealthy. It was never designed to. It was designed to keep you operating smoothly within a system that benefits everyone but you. Now that you see the mechanics behind that system, you can begin to dismantle it piece by piece. The salary trap is powerful, but it is not permanent. Once you understand how it works, you begin to see the cracks in the structure, and through those cracks you can escape. You do not need extraordinary income, extraordinary intelligence, or extraordinary luck. You only need clarity, discipline, and the willingness to separate your identity from your paycheck. Because your salary should be a tool, not a leash. Banks profit when you feel powerless, but you are not powerless. You can build options, you can build space, you can build freedom. And when you do, the system that once controlled you becomes nothing more than background noise. The moment you stop needing the paycheck is the moment you stop being trapped. And that is when wealth can finally begin. Oh, anyway, I opened a new completely free community where I explain how to create and scale your YouTube channel. After an experience with over 10 successful channels, there I will give you all my strategies and tips to monetize and scale your faceless YouTube channel. And I will help you step by step. Since YouTube is the golden opportunity of 2026 if done well, I'm waiting for you. Just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for educational purposes only, and any results depend on your own decisions and actions.